Hey, there you are. Welcome back. Episode 32. Today I speak with Chuck Schlesinger, who is a dentist and also a luthier, Sadilah Guitars. Chuck is taking his guitars out to NAMM next month, January 2026, to show them for the first time. I'll link his website below. I'll also link his fun Substack newsletter below. Let's get into it. Hey, Chuck, how are you? Thank you for joining the club.
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you. You're out in Albuquerque, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I subscribe to your newsletter on Substack. I find it very interesting. You're a dentist full time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was on your website, which, can you pronounce that for me?
Sadila.
So, Salida.
Sadila.
Sadila. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was having a hard time with that. Very cool looking website. Very cool, unique looking guitars that I want to get
Thank you.
into. But reading a little bit about you on your website, you have a familiar start where you started as a younger person in middle school, I think, in wood shop and just getting a love for working with wood at a young age.
Yeah. It was. My. It's funny because my father always had woodworking tools around, had a shopsmith, all that kind of stuff. Could not use it. He was the absolute worst when it came to building anything, and when I got into junior high, it was mandatory. You had to take metal shop, wood shop, and drafting, and fell in love with wood shop at that time, and it was just one of those things that I wasn't looking for. It just kind of happened, and I never really did much with it up until the time I started to build guitars, other than things around the house, and so I'm a useful person to have around.
Well, what struck me when reading a little bit about you before this
Hmm.
interview, you are a dentist. You enjoy working
Yeah.
with your hands. Do you ever consider like the similarities between your two trades? Like being a dentist, I think of working with your hands
Hmm.
a lot.
Yeah, I think there is some overlap with regard to skill of working with your hands. Things carry over. I think years of working with a handpiece has helped me be able to apply that into making instruments with
Yeah.
regard to doing intricate things. So that's really been the biggest crossover, I guess, other than just um, I think the quest for always trying to do your best, and perfection is one of those things in my eyes you can never actually achieve, but you can just try to get there, and as long as you can be satisfied in yourself that you're doing the best job that you can, then it's all a win. So.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's a weird combination. I never ever considered it before, but once I
Hmm.
began thinking about it, I'm like, oh, of course, that makes a lot of sense. There is a lot of crossover skill and just a lot of
Yeah.
attention to detail, which I think
Hmm.
probably plays into that as well. So, just a very interesting niche. So, you were, of course, busy through your schooling, and I imagine as a young adult, you're pretty busy with schooling. When was it that you came back to wood and working with guitars?
It's funny because, I didn't come directly back into wood. When I graduated from dental school and finished residencies and started in practice, actually the first thing that I got into with working with my hands again was working with metal
Hmm.
and building custom bicycle frames. And that was something that really for almost a 10-year period of time really consumed me, and it was fantastic. um, my move from Southern California to New Mexico was really the impetus for ending that part of my life. To be truthful, I just didn't want to have to transport everything I had to transport to a new location. So therefore, that part of that chapter of my life closed up, and then it wasn't until probably 2018 that I thought, hey, you know what, I could probably build a guitar.
Hmm.
It was one of those things that um, it wasn't that I couldn't find a guitar that I liked. It wasn't necessarily that. It was just the fact that I think the amount of information online was really booming at that
Hmm.
point, and had been for a few years. And I just got curious, and really it was a random wormhole on YouTube that basically took me down this path that I went, I think I could do that, and that's pretty cool, and I could do woodworking and actually make something that could be played. And so it was 2018 when I did my first built my first guitar, and it was a Telecaster, pretty straightforward.
Hmm.
And didn't build the neck at that
Hmm.
time. I wasn't quite ready to jump into that. It seemed very daunting to me. Um, built my first Telecaster, and then it kind of, you know, I somehow I went down a road where I started to build a lot of cigar box guitars, and I think it was because it was something that was quick. It was easy. I could build them really fast, and they were fun. They were just truly something that was fun. And
Yeah.
then rotated back into actually getting serious about building standard electric guitars, and
Well, they
and
give you
so since
confidence,
then, yeah.
and yeah, I think that's a smart move to build some cigar box guitars, and
Mhm.
then move up from there. Has guitar always been in your life? Did you play before this?
No, I dabbled. I
Yeah,
dabbled for years. Nothing, nothing that I stuck with. It was one of
yeah,
those things that it would, play a little bit, then forget about it, and picked it up, back up again. Music has always been a huge part of my life. I used to joke that I'm very good at playing my favorite instrument, which was a radio or a record player. And it was always something that just really resonates with me. And playing other instruments, I never really got into. I envied those that could. My life when I was younger was really revolved more about sports and
hmm
school.
hmm
There wasn't really a whole lot of time on the side to do it, and no one in my family played an instrument at all, so it
yeah,
wasn't like I was picking something up, or I had an uncle that gave me something. So I basically didn't really think about instrument playing very much until till later in life, and
yeah.
then it became something that I felt could be an addition to my life in other ways, and then instruments came from that.
Yeah, it gives me a lot
Yeah.
of personal satisfaction just knowing that it's always there when I want to play it, and it's a fun hobby for sure.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Tell me,
Absolutely.
I have done some guitar bodies as well, but
Hmm.
I was a little daunted by the neck as well. I
Yeah.
haven't done any full builds yet. But tell me about how that went for you, about maybe making your first neck, and how did you get over that hump?
Really, it was a big hurdle for me, and I think it was
Hmm.
more a psychological hurdle than anything else.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I initially got into it. I think doing some of the cigar box guitars. I did necks on a micro scale, but they were really very simple, very straightforward. I mean, basically a large bevel on a piece of wood that's 3 inches by 1.5 inches.
Yeah.
Um, but I got into it. I read a lot. I watched a lot of videos. I spoke with a lot of people about it.
Hmm.
The first neck that I made, I actually used a large router bit on my router table,
Hmm.
and that was daunting because that's a big sharp piece of metal spinning pretty fast, and it cut the rough shape, and then I dug into it with files after that. From there, I moved on. Felt, what, I didn't really want to do that, and really the way I approached it was I got a contour at the first fret, a contour at the 12th fret, and then joined everything together. And that
Okay.
was that was really how I started out, and then over time, just through trial and error, got my technique down, I guess,
Hmm.
which now makes it pretty quick for me to carve a neck. Shinto file is my friend, and I can take wood down very quickly with that. And over the years, the last couple of years, I've definitely excuse me, like I said, honed down my technique where, I know the tooling that I need to use. I know the steps that I need to do to get from point A to point B. Obviously, cutting a channel for a truss rod and deciding upon what style of truss rod I wanted to use and whether I wanted to use heel access or
Hmm.
pegboard or headstock access. That was something that I played around and I've gone back and forth, and a few of my models still do heel access, but I do it in such a way that there's at least a recess in the body that you can get
Hmm.
to make adjustments rather than having to pull the neck off. Nothing I think was more frustrating and daunting than like a fender that you would have to pull the neck off completely in order to play with the truss rod and then put it all back
Yeah.
on and retighten all the
Yeah.
strings.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of trial and error, and I think I went through a couple iterations of how I wanted to create my volute. I had a couple different iterations of how I wanted my transition onto the heel, and then finally got comfortable in created a repeatable process for
Hmm.
myself. So
Yeah.
so yeah,
Now,
definitely was a journey.
do you enjoy it now?
I do. I actually I like
Yeah.
doing necks now. I get into that zone where it's just me and this long piece of wood. I don't know,
Yeah.
it's weird. My wife knows not to bother me when I'm carving a neck.
No, your story is familiar. I've heard that before, where it's kind of a
hmm
daunting process, and then you come to love it. So, I'll have to tackle it here next year, maybe.
Yeah, start with a softer wood. It's going to make your experience a little better, at least to start, because it's going to be easier for you to get through things. If
Yeah.
you, I think if you start off with a piece of rock maple, you're gonna or
Yeah.
bird's
Yeah.
eye maple, it's gonna be an ordeal.
Do you have a favorite material that you like to use for necks?
I like mahogany,
Hmm.
and I really I do a lot of guitars with Spanish cedar.
Hmm.
And with electric guitars, whether they're basses or six-string guitars, when I'm using something like Spanish cedar, then I definitely put carbon reinforcement in
Yeah.
it. It is a softer wood, but it's so nice to work with.
Hmm.
It just shapes well, and you can make it do things pretty easily, and
Yeah.
so I do like it.
Yeah. Mahogany is nice to work with as well.
hmm Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, your guitar shapes are very interesting. I'll link below and try to put some in the video here. But tell me
Great.
about your inspiration for the shapes that you do.
For me, one, I wanted to try to imagine things that weren't seen a lot. I think it's difficult to get away from the classic shapes that you see or that have been
Yeah.
part of mainstream guitars forever.
Yeah.
And so I started to think about it, and basically the way I came up with these designs and the way my starting point of all this was to literally draw out a traditional shape and then start removing parts and pieces from it. And especially with like my little Burkenio model, that was just where I really wanted something that was going to be on the smaller side, very comfortable to play. When the other full size models like the Demona or the Striga, those are very they have lots of rounded corners and curves, and again,
Hmm.
they kind of hug the body, and that's one of the things that I try to do. I like to have a guitar that just feels good against your body, and my goal in all guitar building is to build something that I guess that the player picks it up and says this fits. I want it
Yeah.
to be an extension of
Hmm.
of the player, and I think that goes back to um, kind of the thought processes that I had when building bikes, and when I was building steel framed road bikes. You always were trying to look at a way to make the rider and the bike one.
Hmm.
And if you could do that, then the rider was very comfortable and therefore could perform better. And I think that with musical instruments, it's the same thing. I want people to pick them up and to not have to consciously think about what they're holding. It just feels right. and
Yeah.
that's what I try to do. That's why I try to not only make them fit shape wise, but also I my guitars have a tendency to be towards the lighter side, weight wise also.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Do you strive for that? You trying to make them as light as you can?
I do. I'm playing around. I
Hmm.
definitely am. I have one that I will be taking with me to NAMM that's at 5 pounds, and I think I could go lighter than that. It's just a matter of componentry, and I think I could probably lighten the body a tiny bit more. But it's basically a chambered mahogany body with a birch top on it, drop top on it, but
Hmm.
it has some heavier componentry on it as a Schaller bridge, which weighs a ton, and I think I could find a way to maybe shave another quarter
Hmm.
quarter pound, maybe a half pound, maybe if I really try.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be fun. It'd be do that. I'm a little obsessed with the guys that I see online sometimes that make these extremely thin electric guitars, and they're pushing shapes that are like 3/4 of an inch thick, and
Yeah.
I just think it's cool because I think that it's pushing the instruments to another level, and giving something out there that's not the same that I could walk into any big box guitar store and get.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's super interesting. And one of the cool things about making guitars and guitars themselves is, the form and function of them, how
Hmm.
they work together, and how they're just art in general too.
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, it's super cool. So you mentioned NAMM. You've got a very
Hmm.
exciting start to the new year.
Yeah,
Tell me about this. Is your first time at NAMM, right?
it is. Yes.
Yeah, so tell me about how that all came about, what you're doing to
Oh
prepare, what your life must be a little
God.
chaotic right now.
Yeah, and there are days I wake up and I go, why am I doing this? It was a conscious decision. I was going to do it 2 years ago,
Hmm.
and or last year, and had started working on my builds, and was getting ready for it earlier in the year. Had some personal stuff that came up that kind of prevented me from really being able to dedicate the time that I wanted to. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna put it off. But come January 25, I'm gonna jump back into it. It's something I've always wanted to do. Growing up, I grew up in Orange County, just around the corner from Anaheim Convention Center, and I knew and was conscious of this my whole life of a big show that used to come once a year. It was either that or the other part of the year when the SEMA Automotive Show was there. So those are the two large shows that were always in
Yeah.
Anaheim, and so yeah, I kind of I spoke to a lot of people. I had a lot of other luthiers and instrument makers that I know here locally, and I kind of talked with them and said, hey, looking at my stuff, what do you think? Am I wasting my time, or should I just go all in and do this? And so I made the decision, decided to go for it, sent my entrance fee or my booth fee in, and that kind of locked me in, at least in
Mhm.
my own eyes. And then it was just a matter of building after that. And I won't say that it was 100% smooth throughout the whole time. I mean, I definitely ran into some times when I was really questioning whether I wanted to continue on. But I was able to get everything done, and then the last month or so has been really consumed with all the other extraneous things that you need to have for a trade show, backdrop, and stuff for the table, and how I was going to display my guitars and things like that. And I'm extremely excited about it,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to be a really great. I think it's going to be a great experience. And again, kind of tapping back into my bicycle building. I did very quickly on within the first 4 years of building. I jumped into having a booth at the North American Handmade Bicycle Show, where I just went right into the deep end, and it was great in a lot of different levels. It was great because it was exposure for myself. It was a way to sell product. But what it also did is it also encouraged me to really work hard to up my game when I
Hmm.
saw those around me, and I feel that that's going to be the same type of experience for NAMM, and I've heard the stories about it, and I've talked to people that have showed there. I've talked to people that a lot of people who have just been exhibitors there, or not exhibitors, but attendees,
Hmm.
and I think the whole experience is going to be great. Whether I sell anything or not, that's not really the end all be all. I think it's more about exposure. That's why I wanted to do this. I wanted to get out there and to get a large quantity of individuals walking past my booth and taking a look and
Yeah.
seeing what the reaction was.
Yeah, and that's invaluable. I've never shown guitars, but I build furniture and I make
Hmm.
art. And I've done some shows selling that stuff. And it's always so valuable to just get just to watch people and see
Yeah.
their expressions and get their feedback. Because I always learn something new about what I'm trying to do at those events. They're a lot of work. But it's
Hmm.
always worth it. It's always worth it. Now, I've never been to NAMM. Is it open to the public or is it more of an industry show?
It is mainly an industry show, but they do allow the general public now to come. I think that's something that has only been in the last few years, and I think actually since probably a little bit before COVID when that happened, and I think it was to kind of help reinvigorate the show. But yeah, as a general audience out there, you can go and buy a day ticket or a
Hmm.
group ticket for that for the event for the 3 days
Nice.
that the exhibit halls are open. So yeah, I think it's become more and more a general attendance event, and still with the backdrop of serious industry.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where I thought it would be a really great thing to do again, because I want to get my instruments out in front of as many people as I can to, as you said, see their reaction, see what they think. Ask them to be critical. I have no problem. I
Hmm.
have thick enough skin that if somebody says, "Oh, well, I would do this," or "I don't really like this," it's like, great. You know what? I'm gonna put that in the file, and I'm gonna think about it. And I think in a an event like NAMM, where you've got a very large number of people coming through, I think that there'll probably be some general consensus that occurs,
Yeah.
if I really look at it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I wish you the best of luck. That sounds really
Yeah.
exciting, and
Thanks.
I wish you the best of luck. I hope it goes really well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, it's been a lot of work, and now I'm a little stressed out on the shipping aspect of things. I'm getting ready to probably what January 2nd. Everything will be in a big crate and on its way there. So keep my fingers
Yeah, and
crossed that
that's
it ends
nerve-wracking
up
in
there.
itself, like making
Yeah,
sure everything gets there okay and
yeah.
there's no disasters on the other end. So how many guitars do you have to sell at NAMM to stop being a dentist and start being a full-time luthier?
A
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, yeah. I would need to get quite a big backlog in order
Yeah.
to do that. But if things worked out and I had enough, I can always alter my time that devoted to each one of those, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
nice.
Well, it's
Yeah.
also, maybe setting something up for, for post-work life
Hmm.
and just having a creative endeavor is such a valuable thing in people's lives. So I
Yeah.
commend you for doing that. I know you're busy throughout the day, but to have another kind of almost a full-time thing is a lot, but I'm sure it's very satisfying for you.
Yeah, it is, and I'm very blessed to be in a situation that I do have the ability to be in
Hmm.
control of how much time or what I want to do within each one of these endeavors. And like I said, if instrument building and lutherie happened to blow up on me, I could make it work.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just a matter of timing and how.
yeah.
And it is something that I would love to be able to do when I officially hang up the
Hmm.
handpiece and walk away from the chair.
Well, that's cool. That's very
Yeah.
cool. Well, Chuck, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Wish you the best of luck out there, and
Thank you
look
so
forward to
much.
seeing how it goes.
We'll do. I'll keep in touch and let you know, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
We'll look forward to it. All right. Take care.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a
All
good
right. You're
evening.
welcome. Bye.
Bye bye.